I believe that we all have one thing, at least one thing, that is holding us back. It's an invisible string. It's a bad habit that we can't break. It's a conversation that we seem to keep avoiding. It's a fear that we're faced to, actually like face. It's a promise that you keep breaking, like we talked about earlier. Or maybe it's like, I don't know, like a dream that you keep delaying. Like you say, I wish I could do this. One day I hope I can do this. And so whatever that one thing is, I wanted to help people identify it first off, then eliminate the excuses. And regardless how justifiable they are, I wanted them to be able to eliminate those, excuses and bad habits, etc., so that they could finally go all in and get the thing that they're after most. Because I've seen it firsthand. I've seen how powerful it is when you stop blaming your circumstances, when you stop justifying your excuses, and you finally go all in. And so that's what the book does. And it's the cool thing about it is, to me, there's a lot of great stories. It connects, to deeper than just like inspiration. But also throughout the book, it's a workbook where you fill out everything. So it asks you, questions that are hard questions. But once you fill it out, by the end of the book, you actually have an actionable blueprint that you can use so that you can hopefully make the changes that you far too long wanted to make, but never been actually able to actually make.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. My mentor and coach for 15 years, he was in the financial industry, and he wrote a book called Bullshit. It's a Good Word.
I like
I'll
that.
just I'll just send you a copy. He played in the NFL in the 70s as a wide receiver, and he had an Achilles tear at that time, and at that time that was a career-ending injury. So did it one in the Hall of Fame as one of the best leaders at our company, and he wrote this book after he retired, and he just found that positive bullshit, the opposite of some of the negative bullshit that you're telling, is a very good tool for leadership in life.
Yeah, I mean, to me, again, I really do. When you look at it, it's funny because imagine this. Like, imagine if, I'll give you an example. I'll use what you said earlier because you corrected yourself when you were like, "Oh, you know what? Growing up, in our state, drinking is part of the culture." And then you were like, "Well, that's bullshit." Like, actually, it is part of the culture, but that's all of us justifying it together. My dad, for years before he lost the weight, my dad was a butcher. And so my dad was like, when I try to get him in shape, he's like, "Drew, no one can trust a skinny butcher. You can't trust a skinny butcher." And I was like, "You're justifying something that I get it. Like, I obviously wouldn't want to walk in and see, somebody that looked really, really thin and say, 'Hey, what's the best cut of meat?' But like, that's not an excuse. Health is more important than you having this image of, this fat butcher is the butcher that people trust." Like, we all have these justifiable excuses. It would be me. If it would be me being like, I'm 5'11, I'm an average athlete. I'm not supposed to be good at basketball, so I'm not going to pour into, the hard work that I did because I just don't have a chance. That's bullshit. It might be somebody that says, I was born, to a family that was very middle class, so I'm never meant to be rich. That's bullshit. There's plenty of people that have been from middle class and have been self-made millionaires and even self-made billionaires. That could be somebody that experienced trauma when they were younger and they say, "You don't get it. You didn't have to go through my upbringing." I agree. I did not experience trauma. I did not have to go through upbringing, but I've seen people that have came from way worse scenarios that have made it out and now are living way better lives and aren't living with that pain from their past because they've actually, dealt with it instead of constantly burying it deeper and deeper where now it's driving all your actions.